Coming to the Tainted Tavern, come sit a while for free. We talk about our musings and devices we've been using.
Hello and welcome to the Tainted Tavern, and the place where the stories are always on tap, along with the quality drinks such as this Grant's Triple Wood, which I've just finished. Very nice drop of whiskey, that. And today I want to talk about two cop movies. Two cop movies that are both iconic, that are both classics of the genre, that are both as relevant today as they were when they were made, and that was 1968's Bullitt, which starred the King of Cool, Steve McQueen. Mind you, in 1968 I was only 3, so I couldn't compete with the King of Cool on the coolness status, although I think I probably should have had a shot. Can you imagine this movie made with a 3-year-old kid in the role anyway? So it's Steve McQueen's 1968 Bullitt, directed by Peter Yates, who was at this period best known for his work on British TV series. He was a British director, and he'd done quite a few episodes of the brilliant Roger Moore series The Saint, which I'm going to talk about one day, as well as Danger Man, Patrick McGowan of course. Kind of a geeky connection there, because Patrick McGowan was originally considered for the role of James Bond before Sean Connery got the role, and of course Roger Moore would become James Bond, and in my opinion the screen's best James Bond. Yes, no, that's a controversial opinion, but I'm going to do a video one day on why Roger Moore was the best James Bond. And the second film I want to talk about comes from 1971. It's an Oscar-winning film. It took Best Director and Best Actor in that year, and that is The French Connection, which has a lot of similarities to Bullitt, although they are totally two different stories. Now, before I start talking about the films, I want to talk about the copies I've got here. Like Bullitt is a standard DVD, where it does list special features on the back, but when I play this film I can't get no menu up. It just goes straight to the movie, so it's a vanilla disc. It's a pretty good transfer, but I probably will replace this with a Blu-ray or a 4K copy, solely because of the lack of special features, because when I've got a movie in my collection I do like to have the special features so I can explore more about the movie. I find that allows me to appreciate the movie better. Now the second film, again, it's a DVD, but I will not replace this. It's a double box set of The French Connection and The French Connection 2. We're only concerned with The French Connection today, which was of course directed by William Friedkin, whose probably most famous movie was The Exorcist, and it stars Gene Hackman and Roy Schreider. It's an absolutely brilliant film, but as I say, it has got a lot of connections with Bullitt. Now, as I say, I won't replace this disc with Blu-ray, nor a 4K if they become available, because the special features on this double pack of The French Connection and The French Connection 2 are superb. We're just going to consider The French Connection now. So specials features on here to relate it to The French Connection are The Plough Keeps Shuffle, which is a 53 minutes documentary from BBC, which tells the story of the connection between the French Connection movie and the original case in which it was based on. It's really good. You've got a documentary, Making the Connection, which again looks at the real case behind the story that this film was based on. We've got The Untold Stories of the French Connection. That's 57 minutes. So just those 3 special features there are providing special value. But other than that, you've got 7 deleted scenes. You've got a featurette in which William Friedkin puts some context into those deleted scenes. You've got still galleries, you've got the behind the scenes, you've got unit photography gallery, a poster gallery, the original theatrical trailer, and of course then they also class scenes access and animated menus as special features. They're not really, but this is a really handsome DVD copy. I don't know when I bought this. I've had it quite a few years. I bought it when it was brand new, when it just came out. You've got a really, not even a thin booklet here, it's a pretty hefty booklet. You've got 3 discs. Whoops, come off the up there. So you've got 3 discs. You've got the original French Connection movie, The French Connection 2, and an extra disc which contains even more special features. Now, I will be discussing the French Connection too in a future video, and perhaps going into this brilliant DVD issue in a later video, but for now I just want to talk about Bullitt, starring Steve McQueen, the king of cool, and of course Gene Hackman, the recently departed Gene Hackman, the late great Gene Hackman, in an Oscar-winning role as Popeye Doyle. So, without further ado, get my further ado's wrong there. So without further ado, let's talk yesterday's cops. Okay, so let's talk Bullitt from 1968, as I said in the introduction of this video. The Oscar-winning French Connection from 1971. Bullitt, directed by Peter Yates. Peter Yates, who did a lot of TV stuff before doing Bullitt. He also did the Cliff Richard musical movie, Summer Holiday. You know, we're all going on a summer holiday. Oh, congratulations, baby. He did that, and also, of course, The French Connection, directed by William Friedkin. William Friedkin was probably best known for the film he made following The French Connection, which was The Exorcist. That's not that The Exorcist is any better a movie than The French Connection, it's just it was so controversial, so it's remembered so well. Now, both of these films are cop shows, cop movies. The French Connection is often considered a neo-noir, but I'm not sure if I would agree with that. We're going to to lubricate my vocal cords, I'm going to have a stout, and this is from the Garden Brewery. It's quite a strong stout actually. It's an imperial stout, so it's 8.1% ABV. Salted caramel and chocolate biscuit stout, rich, sweet and indulgent on a milk stout biscuit base. So it's a milk stout. I do like a milk stout. Very black as I'm pouring it. Quite a smooth, silky aroma as well. Picked this up in Morrison's. The writing on the back is it's made in Croatia. The Garden Brewery, Croatia. So let's talk about The French Connection and Bullitt. Now, there are similarities to both of these movies in the fact that the plots don't really seem to matter what you're getting on the screen. Bullitt, I've watched several times over the years, and I'm still not 100% sure what the plot is about. I know that Frank Bullitt, that's McQueen, is guarding a witness, and that witness is shot, taken to the hospital and dies. Robert Vaughn, who's brilliant in this as the sleazy politician, who's working more than likely for the mafia, although they just call the outfit in this because the mafia didn't like that word used on the screen. So more than likely they made Peter Yates the director an offer he couldn't refuse. But anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves. So the witness dies. Now the only people that knows this are Bullitt and the doctors. So Frank Bullitt, that is McQueen, gets the body of the witness, registers as John Doe and delivered to the local mortuary, and he keeps it then hidden, especially from Robert Vaughn's character. He starts to distrust that the witness is still alive. Bullitt is then thinking, at least we assume he's thinking that, because the film is style over plot. The French Connection is very much the same. The plot of The French Connection, we know that Gene Hackman's character Popeye Doyle is looking for the French guy with the beard and the cool Troviat. We know that. But a lot of the procedural details in both movies, when you sit back and think about it, don't actually make no sense, but it doesn't matter because the films are so stylish, both of them, but in different ways. I mean, Bullitt was shot in San Francisco, and Quentin Tarantino in his book, Cinema... Alexa, what's the Quentin Tarantino... Oh, Cinema Speculations, rather. In his book, Cinema Speculations.
From Goodreads.com. The second book by Quentin Tarantino is Cinema Speculation, a collection of non-fiction essays on 13 notable movies from between 1968 and 1981 mixed in with autobiography about his experience with these films.
So yeah, Quentin Tarantino in his book Cinema Speculations noted the lack of any understandable plot in Bullitt. But as he said, it's all about the substance. It's all about the both performances. That is Steve McQueen in Bullitt and Gene Hackman in The French Connection positively dominate the screen, so that you're quite happy just to sit back there and watch what is happening, watch the story unfold. It doesn't matter that we're not sure exactly what's happening and we don't understand the plot at all. Let's try this stuff, does it? Now, both of these movies have a famous car chase sequence, and these chase sequences were coordinated by the same guy. I've written it down here in my notes just in case I forgot. So yeah, the stunt coordinator on both films was Bill Hickman. Now, when you use stunt coordinator, the term stunt coordinator, stunt advisor, whatever, it basically boils down to the fact that they largely directed the massive chase sequence, in Friedkin in the case of The French Connection, and Yates in the sense of Bullitt may have been leading the cameras, placing the cameras, but they would have been taking it on advice from Bill Hickman. Both brilliant scenes. Now, both chases are iconic, but you've got to give credit to Bullitt. It was the earlier movie with more or less inventing the cop show or cop movie chase sequence, and after this film, every cop film, and there were so many cop films which owe a massive debt to Bullitt, not least of which is Dirty Harry. Don Siegel's Dirty Harry, of course, starring Clint Eastwood. In fact, Clint Eastwood several times in his performances and several of his movies seem to be channeling McQueen's King of Cool type style. Eastwood famously cuts dialogue from his movies for his character. He did it most notably when he was over in Italy, or Spain rather, making the spaghetti westerns with Sergio Leone. Eastwood was trimming down the characters' dialogue and allowing the character just to be. Now that comes from Steve McQueen. Steve McQueen was very much the same. I was listening to a documentary about Bullitt recently, and I'm not sure what we was speaking, but they said McQueen would say, "Look, I don't want to say this line. Give it to so and so. I'll stand in the corner eating an apple." And McQueen did a lot of that, which is where he gets the King of Cool persona from. There are several scenes in Bullitt where particularly McQueen's character is being antagonized by Robert Vaughan's character, shouted at in the face in several instances. McQueen never reacts. He remains cool no matter what's going on. He keeps that cool guy persona, and McQueen was brilliant at that. And as I say, one day I will do a video on the parallels of the acting styles of both Clint Eastwood and Steve McQueen, because you can see much in Eastwood's performance, and Eastwood is one of my favourite actors of all time, but much in his performance that owes a debt of gratitude to Steve McQueen, who did it first, who did it earlier. And you can argue he maybe did it better. Anyway, let's, The French Connection. Now, again, Gene Hackman's central performance in this is stunning, and he dominates the screen in every scene he's in, but his portrayal of Popeye Doyle is a million miles from Steve McQueen's Frank Bullitt, where Steve McQueen's Frank Bullitt is effortless, he's smooth, he's cool. Hackman's Popeye Doyle, which was actually based on a real narcotics officer, seems to be perpetually angry. He's always angry at something, and he's got his own style, don't get me wrong, but it's not a cool, it's more of a rough, gruff style, rather than the cool, effortless style that McQueen brings to the screen in Bullitt, and also brought to the screen in so many other movies that he was in. I mean, his breakout performance in The Great Escape as the cooler king, McQueen had this way of acting that seems effortless. Apparently, on set, off screen, which is what his public didn't see, he could be quite an hothead, but he's never a hothead on the screen. I'm going to talk about the chase scenes, the relative chase scenes of each movie in a moment. But what I would like to say that in my opinion, if I had to compare the two movies, I would say The French Connection is the better movie. But that's only my opinion. The French Connection appeals more to my own sensibilities. So I wouldn't, it would be my opinion then that The French Connection is a better movie than Bullitt. Director William Friedkin, of course, was a great director, and he's done some classics, hasn't he? The aforementioned Exorcist, of course. But Friedkin also made a lot of trashy movies, some probably as bad as Peter Yates's Cliff Richard Vehicle's Summer Holiday. I mean, The Guardian, which Friedkin made in the 1980s. I'm not sure whether that was a bit shit, that was pants. But let's look at the chase scenes then. Bullitt, of course, was first. Both these sequences from the movie, and I've got some notes here on the Bullitt chase. It took 3 weeks to film this chase. We're talking about Bullitt now. We're talking about Steve McQueen in his Ford Mustang, Highland Green Ford Mustang, and this chase and this car has become so iconic that in 2001 Ford released a Ford Mustang Bullitt edition. So this car has become iconic. Now, the chase scene in Bullitt, you remember it as being fast-paced, and really quick cuts and this and that. But when you actually watch it, a lot of this chase is quite slow. It's on screen for nearly 11 minutes, which at that time was probably the longest car chase sequence ever filmed. There have been so many more now. The original Gone in 60 Seconds from 1974, I believe the chase in that sequence is close to 45 minutes, but don't quote me on that. But I could Google that now and give you the right fact, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to let all you Google it and tell me in the comments below. But it was a long chasing Gone in 60 Seconds, and I'm not talking about the modern day remakes. I'm talking about the 1974 original, which is a watchable movie. So Steve McQueen's in this Ford Mustang, and the chase is really well filmed, and also McQueen did the majority of the driving himself for this scene, because he was hurt by earlier criticisms about the iconic chase in The Great Escape, on the motorcycle chase, when McQueen didn't do much of the driving then. He was hurt by that, so he insisted he did most of the driving in this. Now, Billy, when the stunt coordinator, did do some of the driving, and there's a way to tell when you're watching the movie, because when you've got McQueen actually behind the wheel, the rear view mirror is positioned in such a way that you can see McQueen's face, or at least his eye line, in the rear view. But when Hickman is driving it, the rear view mirror is turned up slightly, so you can't see a face, and it is a really effective chase. Now let's go to the corresponding scene in The French Connection, again coordinated by Bill Hickman. The French Connection. Now, Hickman didn't want to repeat the chase sequence he did for Bullitt. He didn't want to do a carbon copy. So the French Connection's chase sequence is totally different, because Gene Hackman is chasing a train which is up on tracks, a vertical train, I believe they call them, above the city. This is an incredible chase. I won't say it's better than the chase in Bullitt, because it's different, but it does, I think, ramp up the excitement considerably over the chase scene in Bullitt. But both of these sequences are absolutely excellent. Of course, the Gene Hackman French Connection, Popeye Doyle chase sequence is especially memorable, because it ends with Hackman's character, Popeye Doyle, capturing the guy he was chasing. The guy's at the top of the staircase, and Hackman famously shoots him in the back, which was something that director William Friedkin took a lot of flack from, because the actual chap who Hackman's character was based on was on set a lot, and he wasn't happy with that scene. He said, "You can't do that." He said, "That's murder. You can't shoot someone in the back. That's murder." But Friedkin kept it in the movie, and it is a really effective scene. Another point I should say about The French Connection is that Hackman's co-star Roy Scheider, George Scheider, is brilliant as well. Both of these actors give their best performances, and both of these films, Bullitt and The French Connection, are mighty fine cop movies. Both of them were hugely influential in movies that came after and TV shows. I mean, if you look at Starsky and Hutch, the character of Hutchinson, played of course by David Soul, his wardrobe borrows a lot. His leather jackets and his turtleneck sweaters borrows a lot from the clothes that Steve McQueen wore in Bullitt. Hutchinson, David Soul, even on times seems to be attempting to channel some of that McQueen cool. The French Connection, the brilliant film. It won an Oscar for Best Picture that year. It won Best Director, Best Actor for Gene Hackman. I believe Roy Scheider had a nomination for Best Supporting Actor. It was a massive film, huge film, and any movie that followed these two movies, Bullitt and The French Connection, any cop movie had to have that obligatory car chase. And I mean, perhaps the only chase sequence throughout movies, to my opinion, that I feel competes with both Bullitt and The French Connection on terms of sheer adrenaline throwing excitement is the chase sequence from the Blues Brothers. That end chase which ends that movie is, when they being chased with the Blues Brothers, being chased by maybe every single cop car in America. Is just a wonderful scene. So that's Bullitt and The French Connection, both highly recommended if you're into physical media as I am, and you've got the copies that I've had. I don't see any reason for renewing The French Connection. I think the 2-disc special edition French Connection set with French Connection 2, which is a movie I'll talk about in a future video, there's no reason to upgrade to a Blu-ray or a 4K unless that enhanced definition is important to you. It looks fine as far as I'm concerned in DVD. My DVD copy of Bullitt, though, is a vanilla copy, and I will be actively looking for a Blu-ray or even a 4K of Bullitt. So that's it for now. Yaki da. Have a good night. I'll see you soon.
Coming to the Tainted Tavern, come sit a while for free. We talk about our musings and devices we've been using.